Okay, let me say welcome and Hetty Poo to all of the Feferity Radio listeners out there. How you doing? How you doing this morning? It's a privilege and pleasure for me to be here with you this morning to share ideas and concepts with you along the way that we may develop along the lines that our predecessors intended us to be. I know I'm an hour late, but that's how it is. We're just rolling along here, and I hope everything is cushy for you. I hope you realizing all your goals and all your ambitions and everything like that. And I hope everything is working out and you're being able to deal with life itself rather than the substitutes. And we won't want to be too subjective when it comes down to perception. And let me say, rise up to the our CEO freestyle and all of the technicians and engineers and all the pilots here down in the Feferity Radio neck of the woods. It's Sunday morning again as usual, and you know what we do on a Sunday morning, we try to unite our minds together and our perception, make sure we're seeing things correctly, and make sure that we're not being manipulated by anyone or anything. I'm not here to manipulate you. I'm not here to try and convert you to see things my way, because I realize that everyone has their own opinions, and we want to enhance this. We want to have different views, varieties of views. We're not here to dictate to people about what kind of view that they should have. We like to entertain all views, and we try to unite. We don't try to unite all views, but we give people their space to have their views, and that's what it is. So we want to celebrate that, and we want to thank you for tuning in to Feferity Radio. This is your host, Heru, and it is the morning session. I know that sometimes we can get so engrossed in the events in the world that it becomes fearful. I often tell people about this little thing that I have read in a book one time about this deity. I think it was Obatala or Oludamari, that's right. And Oludamari said to one of the deities, Orishas, that he should go and kill only 10 people. And so the Orisha obeyed and said, okay, I'm going to kill 10 people today. And so the Oludamari realized that 20 people died instead of 10. So he summoned the Orisha to his presence and says, but I thought I told you only to kill 10 people. And he said, I did. I only killed 10. The other 10 died of fright. And there is something in that. And I know that it's easy to say once you're not involved in anything. It's easy to say mind over matter. Especially in these times when we're experiencing all these kind of viruses on the face of the planet, all these new viruses, I don't know where they come from. And it's interesting that the one that's presently here, is just as fearful as when we first encountered AIDS. And now, why is it always viruses rather than other things, like cold and all other things? Virus is different from other things, it's more, it tends to multiply and all them kind of things. So definitely, one thing I noticed that we can never trace the history of these viruses because they never come on the face of the planet before. The $1 million question is man tampering with these things, these lab-created viruses? Now, I don't want to seem like a conspiracist, right, or a scaremonger in here, but I read somewhere, and I'm going to try and find that later. I read where this disease is patented. And that simply means that someone has patented this created this virus. If that's true, and I want you to do your research as well, you do your research and see where we can come to expose any foul play. If there is man-made, if this thing is man-made and deliberately made, then the people who are responsible for this then could be charged for murder or attempted murder. You see, this is the hypocrisy of society and governments and the human. Very hypocritical. They will condemn you for maybe smoking, yet they're the ones that create the cigarettes in the first place. This is the mishmash and the muddled thinking that we're having to deal with today, and the hypocrisy. You know, they will make cigarettes and they'll put on it this warning, this massive warning about how cigarettes can kill and all that, and pictures and all that to boot, that will sort of try to scare us into something, to not use something which they have actually created. So this is the hypocrisy of the human. And what we've got to say is that it's which humans can serve its humanity best is the question here. And that's what what I read last week about the myth of Usa. You see what I'm saying? And the story goes that you could use that myth to interpret anything, interpret life itself and society and anything else you want to use as a template or as a magnifying glass or to see things differently under the telescope. You know what I mean? So, we've got these various diseases that are suddenly appearing on the planet without any history. There's a name for that. We've got the history of a disease. And so far, there was no history of AIDS and SARS disease, all these kind of diseases. So we can safely conclude that they are man-made. I don't want to, as I said, it's not a conspiracy thing. Neither do I want to scare you into in any way or fashion, but I'm left to really try to see whether we can establish whether these viruses that are appearing on the planet are actually, there's a history of them, because that means they would have been on Earth already. Like measles, smallpox, and then we can trace the history of that. But the coronavirus, can you trace a history as to say when did it appear on the planet? So if we've got a situation where man is making all these diseases, and then we really got to see and find out and bring them to book. We've really got to do our research. And if we as a people can find out that these people are actually creating these viruses to kill people, then we can demand that these people be brought to book once found out. Can we trust scientists and the lab? And we should take control of the lab, and we should appoint scientists when we have vetted them and see whether they are there just to serve humanity or whether to kill humanity. This is the thing. And there are, like Bill Gates now, I heard the argument with Bill Gates about he's the one that was trying to deal with the population reduction. Bill Gates is about that. People are saying about Bill Gates that he's taking all these viruses to various countries and to kill the populace, or to cull the population, as though they have a mandate, and it makes you wonder who's given them the right to take that on board, and they have the right to cull the population, and they have the right to decide whether there's too much people on the face of the planet. And it really does my brain in when I hear people talk about, it's the amount of people. There's too many people on the face of the planet today, and so that gives them the God-given right to decide that they have the God-given right, rather, to cull the population. This is in the face of deities, in the face of your God, in the face, and let's count them. Let's call the names of these gods. And the reason why I'm talking like this, because I want to have a balance here. We've already got problems of people being gullible to conversion of religion and ideologies. People's personal religion and ideologies. You got these founders of religion. I can name of all the founders. I can name the founders of Islam. I can name the founder of Christianity. I can name the founder of Hebrewism. And I can name the founder of quite a few other religious organizations and movements. They all have founders, barring the mystery system, the Egyptian mystery system. They don't have any founders. The founder for that is the creator. How about that? That's right. The founder for the mystery system in Egypt is the creator. These other ones, like, what's his name, found Islam. What's his name again? Muhammad. He's the founder of Islam. Then you have Leonard Howell. He's the founder of Rastafarianism. Without Leonard Howell, there wouldn't be any Rastas. And so the founder of Hebrewism is Abraham, who never really existed. And so we've got these. See, this is how humans deal with each other. They like to lord it over themselves. They like to. Some humans on the face of the planet have returned in order to want to subjugate other humans, subjugate people's minds. And if you're gullible, then you're going to be swept under. If you're gullible, if you are, let's say, if you are susceptible and easily persuaded and, weak and impotent in your thinking, then obviously you're going to be swept under. You're going to be following these various leaders and organizations that we have. They're masquerading as liberation groups when they're really there just to start cult followings, So how do you protect yourself against these kind of things today? How do you... And you'll have to listen to my show on Mondays. I know I wasn't here last Monday, but I'm going to try and endeavor to be on a regular basis. And I thank all of those people who are trying to connect to me, link me. You can link me on my Facebook as well, Heru Amen Facebook, and the Heru Outlook, the Heru, email. I'll give that later on once I can get it. It's somewhere around the place. But if not, you can always contact me here on a Sunday and also on a Monday for Feferity Radio. And so we want to be mindful of ourselves. We want to be don't want to be swept under. If you do, you find yourself in a category. You're the weak and impotent one. You're the gullible one. Then we can't help you. But that's why I say I'll never preach to the unconverted. But I'll never cast my pearls to swine, and I'm inclined to relate to those that have some form of initiation and have risen their consciousness to the highest parts of their spirit. Those are the people that I like to interact with and engage with, and there are plenty of them on the earth. I'm not here to serve the gullible. I'm not here to serve the sheeple. I'm not here to create sheeple or become a shepherd. I'm not here to do that. I'm here to the knowledgeable, those that already have passed through initiation processes and have gone and risen their consciousness and are not depending on other people, as I don't want you to depend on me. I'm not here to endear you to me. I'm not a cult leader. No, I don't really want that. And I thank God that the CEO of this station is not also involved in cultism. I want this station to become a cult following. It's not about the station, really. Some people like to push their station and push their organization as almost cult-like to the weak and impotent thinkers, the people that have that are sheeple, and they're in the many. So if you're fishing for people, if you're fishing for audiences, they're out there by the dozens. And I'm not here to. I don't think it's a good thing for me to even cast my net, to even try and convert or people away from. I leave them with their freedom. As far as I'm concerned, we've got to respect the freedom of people thinking, and we want to encourage that kind of thinking down here. We don't want to dictate to people what to say. We encourage you to keep your opinion, and and if you can join us, that'd be great. We can have a discussion then, and we can see who's who and what's what. And so, so we have this virus on the planet now, and people have never asked the question, where's the history of this virus? You know what I mean? There's no history. There's a name for that, and I can't remember the name for it. But when I do, I'll let you know. But I'll give you the layman's version. There's no history. If there's no history of a virus happening, then it is man-made. And I did have some information about somebody said that this virus was patented by people, like our AIDS virus is patented. So I want you to do your research and find out whether this virus is also patented as well. Because if it is, then that would definitely prove that it is man-made. Now let's have a look at today's news on that. You know what's happening today. You know what's important to you today. The whole world must be ready to deal with coronavirus, says World Health Organization. I wanted to look at that later on, the World Health Organization, what is comprised of. And that, to me, if anybody has interest in creating strain and viruses, then the World Health Organization that are pushing pharmaceutical drugs would have a clear interest in trying to make people sick in order to administrate this vaccination. Soon people are going to be forced. That's what I'm saying. I'm not really a prophet of doom and gloom, But some people, I hear people say that soon they'll be rolling out vaccinations, and they'll be introducing all sorts of crap into your system in order for you to have some sort of a resistance to whatever virus they say that exists. And you're going to be forced to do that. And I don't know how we're going to escape that. That's what people are saying, but I haven't seen any evidence of that yet. That's yet to be realized. And so if they're going to be doing that, then we'll see. We'll see. Watch this space. So countries urged to be on alert as number of confirmed cases passes 7,000. If that's not an epidemic, well, I don't know what is. Cases past 7,000. Sarah Bosley, health editor. This is Wednesday. This is Wednesday, the 29th of June, 2020, 1939 GMT. The whole world must be on alert to deal with the spread of coronavirus. The World Health Organization, the WHO, has said as it urged countries to prepare so that they are ready to detect any cases that occur and isolate and treat the sick. WHO, or the World Health Organization, will reconvene its expert committee on Thursday to decide whether to declare the Wuhan coronavirus outbreak a public health emergency of international concern. There are now 7,183 confirmed cases of viral pneumonia caused by the virus, and 170 deaths of all of them in China. Just 68 cases have been confirmed outside China in 15 countries, but in 3 countries, Germany, Vietnam, and Japan, there has been human-to-human transmission, raising fears over the spread of the disease. The whole world needs to be on alert now. The whole world needs to take action and be ready for any cases that come from the epicenter or other epicenters that becomes established, said Dr. Michael Ryan, the head of the World Health Organization Health Emergencies Program. And they didn't even see this coming, the WHO, and I want to aim some suspicion at that group. I'm going to have a look at that group and the organization. When you got a World Health Organization in that region, and their agenda is to produce a lot of pharmaceutical drugs and they want to make money. So they're kind of willing, and I wouldn't put it past them. I'm not trying to, just to blame them for the disease without any evidence, but we can be kind of suspicious with that, and I think we ought to be a bit suspicious about the WHO health emergency, because we know that at times they would rather administrate their pharmaceutical drugs to us, and it costs a lot of money, and it would be in their interest to keep us hooked on their pharmaceutical drugs. They don't want us to be healthy, and it kind of makes me sick. That's what I said about your gods. All the gods that you lot worship out there, right? And all the religious acumen from Islam, from Rastafarian to Islam to all sorts of other ones. What is your God doing about this, brethren? Are they just standing idly by and watching these people? Since we need to establish whether this virus has any history. And as far as I'm concerned, and as far as I know, there's no history for this virus. And so I can conclude, I think we all can conclude, and then it's got to be, and it's patented. If we can prove the fact that it's been patented, then we know definitely something is amiss here. And we have to look to the WHO, the World Health Organization, as to some of the answers. What it can be done, and how is it that it escaped their knowing, and it's this point in time that when it's already gone, that they can do nothing about it. They're talking about compromised immune systems and all that, elderly suffering the more. So there's some questions and answers. How can I protect myself from the coronavirus outbreak? Let's see what they say about this. He and the WHO Director General, Dr. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus. I wish I'd get some bloody easy names, man. Where do you get these kind of names from, man? Praised China for its openness and its crackdown in Wuhan, the center of disease outbreak. The fact that to date we have seen only 68 cases outside China and no deaths is due in no small part to the extraordinary efforts China has made, said Tedros. They are doing that at the expense of their economy and other factors. But China's containment of the coronavirus, which emerged probably from wild animals sold for food in Wuhan's seafood market. I'll tell you something. It's kind of make me suspicious, Of late, I've been seeing on social media so many incidences of China eating some strange food. I see them skinning dogs, boiling dogs and skinning them off, and dogs are still alive. I've seen them eat a man, a post on my page, and I didn't realize somebody covered it with that cover saying, warning them that this material can be very, it's not, it should be viewed with caution. And it's better, this Chinese bread, it's Asian. Chinese are Asians, you know that, innit? Asia. They come from Asia. And this guy was just taking up a rat and eating a live rat, biting off his head. People say that's fake. But that squirming body of that rat didn't look fake to me. It looked quite real. And they were eating, there's all sorts of eating alligators. This is what you get, innit? You violate nature, right, in that way. And you eat what you're not supposed to eat. Then you're going to get these kind of reactions if this is the reason why this virus has been spread. They say that. It's like when they had the AIDS virus, they tried to blame it on homosexuals, remember? The homosexuals were blamed for bringing this disease on the face of the planet. Then it moved from homosexual to heterosexual. Now, they're saying that this virus now, it seems like, how many years was it since when AIDS were first? We can look that up, and you find out how many years AIDS first or been made aware of to now. How many years? Is it 20 years? I don't know. Maybe it feels like 20 years or so. So look like, let's see how long before another one comes out. We don't look at nature like that. You understand what I'm saying? To us, it's not possible. Doesn't make an ounce of sense. And it seems to be pointing to some sort of man-made effort here. Wuhan's seafood market has only reduced the danger to the rest of the world, not removed it. The continued increase in cases and the evidence of human-to-human transmission outside of China are, of course, most deeply concerning, he said. Although the numbers outside China are still relatively small, they hold the potential for a much larger outbreak. Confirmed coronavirus cases have risen to more than 6,000 in 1 week. Fewer than 2% are outside mainland China. The Emergencies Committee met on 2 days last week, but backed off from declaring the outbreak of international concern, largely because the spread to other countries had not been extensive. The declaration, which was made in the Ebola outbreaks in West Africa and the Democratic Republic of Congo, as well as the SARS epidemic, would attract resources to countries that have outbreaks and streamline the measure taken. Rayan warned that 194 countries implementing unilateral measures was a potential recipe for disaster. The evacuation of foreign nationals from Wuhan began with airlifts of hundreds of people by Japan and the US. A government-chartered plane carrying 206 Japanese nationals arrived in Tokyo from Wuhan on Wednesday morning. 2 showed symptoms of pneumonia following scans, but a coronavirus diagnosis had not been confirmed. The hospital representative said 2 more were admitted to hospital. 7 others with symptoms such as coughs and fever will undergo tests. The rest of passengers were sent home with instructions to stay in and not mix with people for 14 days. Officials in the U.S. said a chartered plane had made refueling stops in Anchorage, Alaska, with about 240 U.S. citizens on board, including staff from the U.S. consulate in Wuhan. The passengers were due to be rescreened in Anchorage, and the hospitals there were on alert to take any who needed medical tests or treatment. The first case in the Middle East were reported in the United Arab Emirates. 4 members of a Chinese family who had been in Wuhan and arrived in the UAF on the 16th of January for a visit were confirmed to have the virus. All 4 are in a stable condition. Now, they were confirmed to have the virus. Now, that's a virus. It's like AIDS, isn't it? You can have AIDS, but not full-blown AIDS. Yeah, they're saying it's the same similar thing, right? The virus. Confirmed to have the virus, but not saying they have the corona disease. I don't know. It's kind of a muddy in the waters here. So you can have the virus and not really have corona disease. I don't know. They haven't said yet, but I can guarantee probably they'll soon come up with that. That's why it took a while before you can have AIDS without having full blown AIDS. You know what I mean? You can carry the virus, but you won't have full blown AIDS. That sounds very suspect to me. That sounds very man made. So, what is your opinion of this? Do you think that this is man made? I mean, the first thing that comes to mind would be that. The first thing that came to my mind, at least in any case, is that it was created. Now, somebody says that I read that they even give you the patent number. So maybe you can do your own research and ask Google whether this virus, whether the coronavirus has been patented. Yeah, it had a patent, and I think I saved it. I have to go in my phone and have a look at that. But there's been talk about the virus being patented. And so, if that is the case, how come no one is going to be brought to trial for murder or attempted murder? The scientists who invented these diseases, because no one has been charged for murder, attempted murder, with the AIDS disease or the SARS disease. No one has been held responsible for that outbreak. And if there are scientists that had created that, then obviously they should be held to account. Of course they should be, because if I went up and slapped somebody in their face, if I killed somebody, I'm going to go to jail for murder, right? Or I'd be charged with murder or manslaughter, but then I'd have to go to trial, wouldn't I? Even though you charge me with that, doesn't necessarily mean that I'm guilty of it. And even if I am guilty of it, it could well be that I could escape. We have had a good solicitor, a good lawyer, barrister, and I got the hearts of the jury. You know what I mean? Have the jury eating out my hand, and I could easily escape that. So there's no justice in Western terms. That's why we have to look on judgment and justice. Justice in itself. Justice, like we think, what is justice? What is justice? And I already had a talk on judgment and justice, how justice is administrated, and then you'd have to try and understand the repercussion. If you did something wrong, who's going to judge you? Who's going to mete out the punishment? You understand? And the way we look at things, nature is like that. If you violate nature, then obviously you've got to pay the consequences, whether you're aware of it or not. You can't say to nature, "Hey, look here, mate, I didn't know that, I'm sorry." If you violate, well, that's it. And judgment, it's another thing. Violation and judgment are two different things. You violate and then you get judged. So how is judgment? Because I'm looking at this thing. If there's any notion that this thing is man-made, and like AIDS was man-made, we come to the conclusion that AIDS was created in a lab, yet no one's been brought to justice. So, but yeah, if me and you, simple man like me and you, or woman, do something similar, simple like that, we are going to jail. So it seems like there's one rule for us and one rule for the elite. And this is what I spoke about last week. I don't like how it is. The elite can get away with murder while the masses can't. What kind of a judgment is that? Isn't it same for all? Whatever you sow, you will inevitably reap. So on whose justice are we going on here? Justice administered by whom and by what? By what criteria? So this is what I'm saying. So back to what I'm dealing with. So if there is any notion that this thing was created by any man in a lab or woman and deliberately put it in the human population, who is going to judge them for doing such a thing? If you look around the world today, and if you're looking for reasons to have faith and confidence in things, when you can actually see the punishment of the wicked, but if it's not apparent, then you're going to feel away. You're going to feel away. Why is the wicked allowed to get away with murder, with blue murder in the eyes of any god. So I tell you, to be honest with you, those of you who worship gods, who have some affiliation to a god, will have to be kind of bury in the back of their mind why, if it's the case, even with the AIDS, that it was man-made. How come none of you, God, ever brought anyone to book? Yet loads of people died with AIDS. You see what I'm saying? Loads of people died with AIDS, even though they were innocent. You know what I mean? And that the people that invented it are able to escape with impunity. You think so? So if we have established that this disease is man-made, then we have to prove that. And if it is as it says that it is patented, then definitely that's proof for us that this thing was man-made. The toll of Wuhan. It said, there have been several suspected cases in African countries, although none have yet been confirmed. The toll of the Wuhan coronavirus now exceeds the 5,327 confirmed cases in mainland China. During the severe acute respiratory syndrome SARS epidemic, the SARS outbreak killed more than 770 people globally, including 349 in mainland China. The death rate from SARS caused by a more virulent member of the coronavirus. So here they're giving a little history. Not very much history. They're only making assumptions. Family, then the Wuhan strain appears to be was more than 10% so far. The death rate among confirmed cases of coronavirus is 22%, and may be less if there are many mild cases that do not end up in hospital, as experts believe. UNICEF said it had shipped 6 tons of respiratory masks and protective suits to Shanghai to protect health workers. This coronavirus is spreading at a breakneck speed, and it is important to put all the necessary resources into halting it, said UNICEF Executive Director Henrietta Fore. We may not know enough about the virus impact on children. So what? So hold on a minute. They said that they don't know. We may not know enough about the virus impact on children. So what? There's no history? Is that what they're trying to say? 1 minute they got a little history, now they ain't got no history. They don't know. So hasn't any children caught this virus before? Well, maybe not, by the looks and things. So it's a brand new virus then. Is there such a thing as a brand new virus? Where would it come from, though? You know. So you decide. Let me know. You can call in. So I can find the number somewhere. I'll give out the number in a minute. Yeah, I'll give out a number in a minute. 1 sec. After the break, you can call in and let me know your opinions and views. Do you think it's a deliberate thing? And if it's deliberate, what do you think should be done about it? If we find that it's definitely deliberately done in the science lab, then who are we going to hold responsible? This coronavirus is spreading at a breakneck speed, and it's important to put all the necessary resources into halting it, said UNICEF Executive Director Henrietta Fore. We may not know enough about the virus' impact on children or how many may be affected, but we do know that close monitoring and prevention are key. Time is not on our side. So, you see, what is it doing to us? To see all these things, man. What is it doing to you? What about the weak and impotent? What about those that, well, I call it hypochondriacs? They must be going loo-lally. But let's hear your opinion. The numbers to call us on are 0730 541 7668. And I repeat, 0730 541 7668. We'll bring you into the studios, and you can also text in on that number if you don't really want to go live. But if you do, let's have your opinion on it and see a little bit, see where we are in the scheme of things. So remember, you're in tune to Feferity Radio London, www.feferityRadioLondon.co.uk. Feferity Radio, you call it dash Feferity stroke radio dash, right, if you want to. But usually when you put it in the search engine, it comes up, so you get it there. And so, British Airways said on Wednesday it had suspended all direct flights to and from mainland China after British authorities warned against all but essential travel to the country. America faces an epic choice in the coming year, and the results will define the country for a generation. These are perilous times. Over the last 3 years, much of what The Guardian holds... Let me see that right? Is that right? Yeah. Oh, well, I'll stop there anyway. But as you can see, it's a good little rundown on the virus and the effects of your virus. Do you believe that it's man-made? And if it is man-made, what are the consequences? Who are we going to hold to book? And if it's found that the WHO, the World Health Organization, has anything to do with this, mate, should they be disbanded? Should there even be a World Health Organization? I don't even think there should be. How can you have this World Health Organization? What the hell is that? So if you look at the World Health Organization, it says they were giving us what they think that we should do. They haven't suggested anything like to take any vaccines. So I think they're building up towards that in any case. But it will be a bit late to want to tell people to take vaccines when the horse is already bolted. So let's look at the World Health Organization. So we ask the question, what is the World Health? Oops, come back here, you. What is the World Health Organization? Do you know? I don't trust that organization. No, serious. I never did trust it. You know, I want to see who's at the head of this thing. So, the World Health Organization, WHO, is a specialized agency of the United Nations. That's another organization that I don't too into. But it's happened that nations want to join together. Fine. Who am I to stop them? So it's similar to the World Health Organization. That is concerned with international public health. Why are you concerned with international public health? It was established on the 7th of April 1948. So beyond that, but before that, then there was nothing like that. And people were getting on with their lives anyway. All of a sudden now you want to have an organization that is world health. Look about your own thing, man. Stop. I don't understand this colonization thing that they like to do. That's human for you, isn't it? That's the human trait. always want to lord it over their own kind. And now they've got this World Health Organization. I want to know who's in charge of it. So let's have a look. 7th April 1948, and it is headquartered in Geneva, Switzerland. See, the predecessor, the Health Organization, was a agency of the League of Nations. It's a good thing to have this universal organization. So the World Health Organization, whose primary role is to direct international health within the United Nations system and to lead partners in global health responses. See? So they take it upon themselves. So we want to know who's going to be declaring the global public health emergency over coronavirus outbreak. So here is what a World Health Global Health Agency means. So we know the main purpose of the organization. The main purpose of the organization, the WHO, has multiple leadership priorities that include providing access to universal health care, preventing communicable diseases, and researching factors that affect health. The organization's purpose is to direct and coordinate health for its signatory nations, provide leadership, and determine paths for research. Sorry. So what they're saying is that they're only concerned about their people, their members. So that's okay. If you're not a member, then you won't be forced to listen to them. So what is the World Health Organization definition? History, then. We need to know all these things. Everyone knows what we're dealing with. Do you know what it is? What is the World Health Organization? Have you ever wondered what your life would be like if polio was still a threatening medical condition? What if a new disease outbreak suddenly threatened our country, like we see in the movies and news? See, they're dealing with fantasy here. See, what if? Always this what if. And the amount of things that have been done through what if, my God. And you know, in the kinetic side of things, we try to get rid of the what if. You know, we call a what if a scrambled hypothalamus. You know? Yeah, it's similar to what I always say to explain a scrambled hypothalamus, according to the Medunetta. You know, you're driving in your car one day. You heard me say this before, but I want to reiterate this again. You were driving in your car one day, somebody runs across the road, you slam on your brakes, you almost miss them by inches. And they shake hands and you say, okay, sorry. And they all, you know, then they're often going their merry own way. And you off your way too, about 20 minutes in on your journey, you suddenly think, what if? What if I did hit that person? And then, of course, the all you see is your life flashing before your face. You see police, you see judge. So quickly, in a matter of seconds, split seconds, that's the what if. And so when we got this what if thing, what if? Have you ever worried? Have you ever wondered what your life would be like if polio was still threatening the medical conditions? What if a new disease outbreak suddenly is trying to scramble a hypothalamus? You see, so all these are psychologically astute. They know in order to rule the people. You can rule them through fear and disorganization. So if the hypothalamus is scrambled, then the natural process would kick in, or fight or flee. So you would have to be in that fight or flee mode, and you're probably, for these psychologists and scientists, you're more easier to handle. So scrambling the hypothalamus, they know exactly what they're doing. That's why it's important you listen to the spiritual initiation show, so you won't become a victim of a scrambled hypothalamus. People won't be able to scramble your hypothalamus in order to rule you. So suddenly, so what if a new disease outbreak suddenly threatened your country, like we see in the movies and the news? The World Health Organization, or the WHO, is a part of the United Nations that focuses on global health issues. This organization has been working for over 60 years on such issues as smallpox, eradication, family planning. See, they take it upon themselves, human again, as smallpox, eradication, family planning, childhood and immunizations, maternal morbidity rates, polio eradication, and AIDS. Now they can add this one to their book, the coronavirus. Still don't know where that comes from, but we're beginning to draw our suspicions here. Somebody that's built around pharmaceuticals and built around profit suddenly don't care about the individual, because you know why you don't care? Do you know why these people like Bill Gates can go and suggest that they're going to exterminate X amount of people? Because you know why? They don't fear none of you gods. They don't fear none of... So really, when you look at things, and this is very important, that you look at it like you've got millions and millions of people that are involved in religion, that are just there for sheeple purposes, for people's use, because they cannot be... The fact that they are the World Health Organization can gather people like this and give to themselves the power to look about things like polio, vaccines and everything like that, and they can pass laws which you have to implement as far as they're concerned. So let's see if the World Health Organization's going to come up with a vaccine now. And let's see if you and I are able to say no. I reckon this is the way that they're going to pump. I don't want to scaremonger anyone, but let's see if they're going to say to us, every jack man in Europe has to be vaccinated. And you're going to take away our human rights. As to that, we can have no choice but to succumb to such pressures, because they're going to say anyone of you that don't have it, they're going to probably hail you as being dangerous and needs to be in isolation. You see, so where is the religious bodies, right? All of you who say that you are worshipping gods and all them kind of things there, how come you can worship a god that cannot do anything for you in any case, where they're ineffective in politics? This is why when I listen to the reparation march, how they haven't told me yet how are they going to change the minds of people that doesn't have any heart in the first place, the descendants of the people that enslaved us. How are you going to change their mind? What is marching going to change their mind? You know what I mean? Now that the reparation now are going to start wearing the clothes of the Distinction Rebellion, because it took the reparation crew 4 years to realize they have to disrupt people before they get anywhere. And the Caucasoid just come the other day and showed them how to do it. Now they're jumping on the bandwagon. What kind of people? That shows you weak and poor leadership. And this is what I'm saying. We need to move away from these little fringe groups, these little people that masquerade as they don't know squat diddly, brethren. Especially here in the UK, southeast side of things, Peckham to be exact. The liberation groups all around there saying this and saying that. This proves and shows you weak leadership on their part, because it took the Distinction Rebellion, a Caucasoid group, the very group that they are claiming against. Now, I hear that they have meetings with these people, and it's irony, and it's ironic how you're going to, the descendants of your slave masters, you're going to be in cahoots with them, because they can go out there and they can get arrested and stuff like that, and they can disrupt. And you've been marching for 4 years, and you didn't even know that you can disrupt things. We got to blame the leaders. You got to don't keep having these little stupid leaders, brethren, who haven't fell on their sword yet. They would have to fall on their sword, as far as I'm concerned. They can't just keep leading us up the garden path like that. You made so many mistakes, and a weak and impotent leadership, and now you're going to wear the clothes of the Distinction Rebellion now, because all of a sudden they're making a headway. They just come the other day, and they can have their case heard in court. Now you're going to start turning around ball racism, innit? You got time for that? You got time for that? I ain't got time for that. That's what I'm saying. And I said there's 1.15 million blacks, 1.15 million blacks that are here in the UK. People are now saying that they are miseducated and they haven't got a clue what's going on. But we, the little fringe minority, emotional group, knows exactly what's going on, and we're going to be doing this and doing that for Africa. It's ridiculous. You see? And so the World Health Organization has that teeth to declare anything it wants to declare and force you to accept any kind of vaccinations against your will. And this is the thing. I think we got to fight for the fact that if we don't want to take it, allow us, brethren. I think we've got to have that right. Are we going to be able to maintain that right? Are we going to let them take away our right to refuse injections? We don't know what you're giving us, brethren. We're not even sure. Why do you give your families? Why don't these health organizations do their families first? Test it on their families, on their children, on their wives, grandmother, everybody. Use them as guinea pig. Don't use the world as guinea pigs. When we know and we can see that the virus cannot deal with them, whatever you're putting into them, it's working, then we may consider. But we can't just have people like that just doing as they please. You see what I'm saying? And stuff like that. And then because they're the World Health Organizations or the League of Nations, these people, those nations that have joined in and volunteered to that group, well, that's okay. That's their choice. And we should be left decide whether we want to join anything or we want to have any kind of vaccination. You know, we should have the right to refuse. But as far as they're concerned, then we have to go into quarantine. That's the next thing, get it? Have a life. They'll slowly kill us in there as well. So I don't know. But then where is my concern is this. How is it they're allowed to get away with impunity? These organizations, because of the sheeple. Just like how the Labour sheeple voted to have Boris as Prime Minister. They're sheeple-minded. They even sold out their people. They sold it out. Labour stronghold. So these are what I would call, these are the problems in the world today. These little know-nothing personalities that masquerade as leaders, and they got the blind leading the blind, and these sheeple that run around, and they're so gullible, so pathetic that they will accept anything. You tell them the moon's made out of cheese, and then once you can convince them that the moon is made out of cheese, then they'll follow along. So it says developing international health regulations, you see? So first of all, let's say the World Health Organization outlines several leadership priorities. Let's go and see what it's saying. the so it says 60 years on such issues as smallpox, eradication, family planning, childhood immunizations, maternal morbidity rates, polio or eradication, and AIDS. So the World Health Organization outlines several leadership priorities, which are a part of the initiatives for better world health. It all sounds lovely, and it all sounds noble, and truisms and stuff like that, and sounds very noble, But they use these words, I think, to really mesmerize us, which are part of the initiatives for better world health. Oh yeah, better world health. Yeah, we all love that. These leadership priorities include working towards universal health coverage, developing international health regulations, increasing access to medical products, researching factors such as social, economic, and environmental issues as they contribute to health, preventing non-communicable diseases, and putting emphasis on other Millennium Development Goals such as combating poverty, hunger, disease, literacy, environmental degradation, and discrimination against women. Now, they're all people activities, isn't it? They're engaging in people activities. We do all these activities, whether we're part of a modernized society or still in the so-called primitive, you know what I mean? So at the end of the day, they're all people activity. So we got a little bit of history of the World Health Organization in the aftermath of World War II. They call it World War II. Not World War II. It was tribal war. A few Caucasoids decided to have a bit of disagreement and decided to disguise their tribalism by calling it World War. It was tribal war. Caucasoid v. Caucasoid. Germans are Caucasoid. Jews are Caucasoids. All the people fighting are Caucasoids. Only some of these people of color, these little foolish, sheeple-like people of color, decided to fight on the side of the Caucasoids who turned around and enslaved them. After slavery, you tell me you still go and fight for your descendants of enslavement. After slavery, you went and joined your enslavers. That shows you how traumatized and sick some of us really are. So, in the aftermath of World War II, conversations at the United Nations began to turn to the need for an organization focused on improving and maintaining worldwide health. Conversations about starting such an organization began in 1945, and when the WHO was discussed among the United Nations diplomats, there were a variety of delays to its start, including waiting on the signatures from participating nations, or most notably the beginning of the Cold War. Despite these delays, the impact of a post-World War II world included extremely high disease rates and loss of basic resources and infrastructure. These factors ultimately led to the finalization of the World Health Organization, which was officially formed April the 7th, 1948, a day still celebrated each year as World Health Day. You see? So you got to ask yourself $1 million question now. This organization, how much can we trust it? How much can we trust the WHO? They said they were going to take care of AIDS. Did they do it? I think AIDS outgrew them. AIDS wasn't as frightening as much as it is before now. Every time they come up with these kind of new viruses, they want to scaremonger. I'm saying that, but I mean, maybe if I caught that, I might have had a different opinion. But still, if I do catch it, which I hope not, then I was still going to be, end of the day, blaming the laboratories of the World Health Organization, since they put themselves up like that. No one ever asked. I didn't ask them. If they asked me, do I need a WHO, I would say no, because if I'm living in one part of the world, I have to deal with that part of the world. But because of this global interaction now, where everyone's exposed to each other all over the world now, there's no corner for anything to hide. So journalism's out the window now. Anyone can have a phone and they can pick up these things to boot. So the question is, do you think that the coronavirus is a deliberate patent disease created by these mad scientists in order to help cull the population? That's a conspiracy theory, if there ever was one. But if you can give any more meat on the bone like that, and you can enlighten us a bit more, well, feel free to. The numbers to do that are 0730 541 7668. And I repeat, 0730 541 7668. We'll bring you into the studios, and you can also text in on that number as well. Let's hear from you. I know it's a new station. I know some of you are reluctant to call in at the moment, but don't worry. When you feel that you're good enough to do that, and you feel that you want to interact, no one's forcing you, but you can listen. And so, what we got to say here in the scheme of things is, how much do we trust the world organizations with its pharmaceuticals, and making so much money, rolling it in? It makes you wonder, can we really trust them? Can we trust the United Nations? For all of these, I have member groups that have joined them, and they had their freedom to choose to do that, and we respect that. We don't want to take anyone's freedom away. But as I always say, a contract is a contract. And many of us don't know that we've entered into a contract tacitly. When you have your birth certificates, people say that, and the laws that govern them, contractual laws, apply to us as well. And so they say that we have a contract with society. The minute you have a birth certificate, you're in contract, you're governed. That's not a problem. But, I suppose we have to be governed at some point. You know what I mean? So we understand that. We take that on board, But when we look at it, the organization itself, what ethnicity is the organization? I'll get back to you shortly after a little break. Whoa. Seems to be. Let me set something up here. I think that the music is not set up here. So, I hope the manager's listening. I want him to assist me here. Let me see if I can get something up here. So, these are the questions that we're asking today. Is it real? Is the disease real? Or is it something that's made up? Do you feel that? And you may have proof of that. And so let's see if you can come up with some evidence, some hard-hitting evidence. Even though you might be a theorist, then a conspiracy theorist, then we'd have to see how much we can do that. How much we can conclude and prove that these things are created. And my thing is, once you prove that it's created, then surely we may be able to bring these people to book to compensate the whole of the nation that have been exposed to these various diseases. So, because it has to go without saying, if you are responsible for the death of thousands of people, like Hitler was responsible for the death of thousands of people, and look what happened to him. You see? Look what happened to him. And yet, nature's way of doing things sometimes, like that, like bringing people to book, it may not suit us in that sense, because if we don't have the notion, the wherewithal to do these things, then we're going to be left behind in many kind of ways. Many kind of ways. And so you can feel free to call in and ask, and let's hear what we can and take in what we can. 1 minute. Just one, two. You're in tune to Feferity Radio on the Heru show. Okay. Well, a little bit of break there. You're in tune to Feferity Radio and the Heru show. I had a little bit of interesting chat there, you know. I want to read you something. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I don't really follow the line, but there's something interesting in the book. First of all, I want to play something for you. So, yeah, just play.
Okay, friends. So I was in Home Depot walking around, and with this new virus from China, you know, they've been saying that it's new. We haven't heard any cure and all of this and all of that. Brand new strain and no cure so far, and you know, can't treat it and this and that and this and that. But the name was kind of ringing a bell, right? Because I know I see the name there before. I hear about the name there before. So anyway, at one point, I remember that we had to do something one time, and we were reading the back of a simple Lysol can. Regular Lysol, everyday cleaning. And what happened with the Lysol can was, on the back of the Lysol can prevents germs, this, that. Right here, you can see for yourself, human coronavirus. See it right there, so? Right beside type 2, human coronavirus. So, this new thing that, you see, this is why we don't trust certain things, you know, this new business, it's new. So how come them would have named it on the can long before it even existed? And a simple Lysol can that kills 99.9% of germs and viruses, how would they have named it on the can long before it existed? Because remember, you know, it's new, it's an epidemic, nobody have no cure and all of this. Just food for thought, but I'm glad I remembered it.
Yeah, interesting. A can of this disinfectant, you know. Brother's pointing out that the name coronavirus as an ingredient of disinfectant. Does it make any sense? So I have to be. So I was given this book here, and it's a book named. What's the name of this book here? Behold a Pale Horse by William Cooper. And it refers to, on page 213, and it says something like this. It says here, that they reached the conclusion that by or shortly after the year 2000, the planet would self-destruct due to increased population and man's exploitation of the environment without any help from God or the aliens. By secret executive order of President Eisenhower, the Jason scholars were ordered to study this scenario and make recommendations from their findings. The Jason Society confirmed the finding of the scientists and made 3 recommendations called Alternatives 1, 2, and 3. Alternative 1 was to use nuclear devices to blast holes in the stratosphere from which the heat and pollution could escape into space. They would then change the human cultures from that of exploitation into cultures of environmental protection. Of the 3, this was decided to be the least likely to succeed due to the inherent nature of man and the additional damage the nuclear explosions would themselves create. The existence of a hole in the ozone layer may indicate that alternative 1 might have been attempted. This is, however, only conjecture. Alternative 2 was to build a vast network of underground cities and tunnels in which a select representation of all cultures and occupations would survive and carry on the human race. The rest of humanity would be left to fend for themselves on the surface of the planet. We know that these facilities have been built and are ready and waiting for the chosen few to be notified. Alternative 3 was to exploit the alien and conventional technology in order for a secret few to leave the Earth and establish colonies in outer space. I'm not able to either confirm or deny the existence of batch consignments of human slaves, which would be used for the manual labor as a part of the plan. The moon, code name Adam, was the objective of primary interest, followed by planet Mars, coded Eve. I am now in possession of official NASA photographs of one of the moon bases. I believe that Mars colony is also a reality. Now, there you are. There's just something interesting I thought I'd share with you for those conspiracies who are thinking in all kinds of fashion how to make sense of all of this. But, because of the state of affairs, I said to you earlier this morning that they can't find any history of these diseases. But as far as they're concerned, it's a new thing. And then this brother come up with the name coronavirus on a tin of disinfectant. Coronavirus as an ingredient. Is it the same coronavirus? Is it a different coronavirus? It's all confusing. And I'm not saying this directly to scramble your hypothalamus or to throw you into panic, which I believe is the purpose of many of these conspiracies, to have you thinking and distract your thinking from facts of life, facts like the laws that govern our universe. Once you maintain the laws, once you're not in violation of any of those laws, then you'll be safe. And this is what I think. It's what I have to think. This is what I could conclude. I've come to the conclusion. People are just dying like that and without any reason, apart from being deliberately infected, then goes on beyond any kind of... In fact, what that says to me that we should shut down all religions, because we have to close them down. Because what is it then? How is it that if these things are true, and if they've got an agenda to cull the population, all these things, and you believe they do that, well, doesn't that make them more powerful than the Creator? It would, definitely. If they're able to do all of these things, if they're able to create these diseases, that would make them well, with the intention of culling the human population, killing us. They want to call it culling, but I'll call that murdering the population, human population, right, in order to help the numbers. That's their excuse. That's the excuse that they are using at the moment, and it's like confusion twice confounded. This is why I always emphasize that, we should acquire some skills, and one of the greatest skills that we should acquire is the skill to go into trance, so we can rise above some of these mental functions of these ideologies that will affect our thinking and will basically affect us. I'm not saying that what would happen if one of us got infected by these things and stuff. It would be a tragedy of justice to know that people are deliberately doing these things to us. Where is the justice? Where is the help? Where is the righteousness in all of this? This is what baffles me, and this is the kind of questions that I have to ask. There's no point you have a God and you can't explain, your God can't explain, or they are allowing these barbarians to take out the population like that. There's a problem there. We should stop going to church, stop worshiping and talking about God, and then turn our attention on how to expose or even rid ourselves of these people that have these kind of agendas concerning the human population. Is it a fact or is it fantasy? Well, I'll leave it up to you to decide. End of the day, I know which side I pitch my tent on. I pitch my tent on the laws that governs this universe. And if I am in tune with the laws that govern the universe, then I will be A-okay. But if I violate the laws of the universe, then obviously I have to pay the consequences. And this is what we're talking about. This is how we have to train our minds to think. You can have a scrambled hypothalamus if you want to. But for those who knows about the hypothalamus, and they know that there are ways of scrambling the hypothalamus, whether you're involved in a war, real or imagined, your mechanism cannot tell the difference between real or imagined danger. This is why our protective system goes into automation when it's confronted by a danger, by fear. Once it detects that you're fearful, it will then begin to operate to protect you and begin to shut your process down. So it's very important, as I said all the time, it is what you take in, isn't it, about life. I had this discussion with my son and showed him, listen, anything that you, as a man thinketh, so is he, and so goes his destiny. What should we do? Should we succumb to fear and ended up the fear killing us? Or we got to have confidence and faith in the laws that govern our existence. Don't let the mind become the playground for them, because half of the 99% of diseases are in the mind. I'm not suggesting for 1 minute that people are not suffering from this disease. And the thing is, if they're suffering from it, basically that could also be is because the mind has triggered that belief system that you are infected. Because they said that if I was able to hypnotize you and I gave you a glass of water and I told you that you're drinking a glass of vodka, did you know that you would be drunk to the point that even alcohol will be in your blood? That's how powerful the mind is. And we've got to be mindful of these things. We've also got to leave a little room to say that be careful how we entertain certain ideas and thoughts, especially when we cannot prove any of them. And that's what the mind would grapple for. The mind would want to cling to those things because it's in tune with what it's trying to figure. But if we look at the reality of life, and I always insist that we begin to build a spiritual connection with the cosmos, and we find out the laws that govern our existence. And we'll make sure that we are not in violation of any of the laws in order for us to survive this. That's right. Is it the plan of the divinity that ordinary men and women are able to destroy man and destroy the earth? Is that the plan of the divinity? We can talk about man's plan. Man can always plan to do anything he likes because he has the freedom to choose, the freedom to wait, not the right to do so. Because there are other people on the planet that haven't got the right. They may have the freedom to choose, but not the right. You see? So if they take it upon themselves, what are they trying to get us to accept is this. These conspiracy theorists are trying to get us to accept that there are people that are planning to destroy humanity, regardless, irrespective of the divine principle. Because they haven't learned about the, what I would call the divine intelligence that governs your physiology right now as you listen to this program. It's taking care of your breathing, taking care of your blood. It's an intelligence that is within us. So what about the intelligence then, compared to conspiracy theories? Whose intelligence are we going to trust? Are we going to trust the intelligence of man? Intelligence of man? Are we going to have faith, not even faith, but we can link to the intelligence that governs the universe? It's not man's intelligence that governs the universe. It's the universe intelligence that governs man. And so if a few people want to decide to play around and try to do this, well, it's for us to keep in tune and keep in line with the laws that govern our existence and the laws that governs the universe, and they won't be able to do a thing to you. This is how it's seen. This is what we've been learning for years and years. The divine intelligence that operates throughout the universe. If it's its plan for us to be destroyed by another human, which it also inhabits, so we talk about the divine intelligence multiplying itself into myriads of things and peoples, you know what I mean, to exist, to have an experience. And the more that we tend to our thinking, and we've got to be careful what we think. We've got to make sure the thoughts that come in the sphere of our awareness are thoughts that we can nurture, and we can glean from it things that are conducive to our growth as a human. But we don't know the separation between the self and the not self. It's very important, especially in these times. You have to have somewhere that you can repair to. You can repair to that. You can go in these times of trouble. And that's returning consciousness to naught. If you don't have the skill or the wherewithal to be able to return your consciousness to naught, if you have not experienced that yet, you can develop the ability to do this. Well, tune into my show during the week, and we can go over that, and we can avail ourselves of that possibility that we can return consciousness to naught. Consciousness is who we are. Willing is what we do. Always remember that. In time, especially in these times, you're just more than human. You see? And you got to know that what the plan is. And what the plan is, so in order when you hear things like what you're hearing today, you don't have a scrambled hypothalamus. Your hypothalamus has gone over into overdrive, and it creates the reality that you hold within that realm and sphere of awareness, and you have your a heightened state of receptivity through whatever medium, whether through fear. You know, that's why it's important to, when you learn how to meditate properly, and you learn how to deal with your consciousness, which is your self-identity, things like these won't affect you. So I'm always about solutions here, you know. I just want to scaremonger and keep on making you believe that there's going to be this epidemic. If it happens on whatever scale, then we know that with the law that governs these things, once we're in line with the law, and I always recommend that you get the 11 laws of Ma'at, the 11 laws of God, it's called, by Ran Nafa, amen. So you know the laws, and you want to know whether you're in. I ain't too worried about what they say is happening. My concern is about that I'm not in violation, not of man's law, man's puny laws. You see? Man's puny laws does not give us the wherewithal to conduct anything else than that. Man's law is no law. The laws that govern our existence are completely mediated through the intelligence that imbues the earth, the divine intelligence that imbues the earth. This is one thing that we need to know, because once we have this notion and we understand what the laws are, then we understand everything. We understand life itself. You see? A very important factor. A very important factor. And if we do not understand these things, then, as one man says, dog, nyam your supper. And we don't want that to happen. We've got to take control. We can't afford to be in a position where we don't know anything. Right? It's paramount that we learn the laws. You see? It's paramount. It's paramount that we understand, and not only know, but we understand the laws. And we understand what a law is, so we can be free from the wiles of man and the intention of man. You know. And that's why we're not only going to be made aware and understand that the 11 laws of God or Neter are based on the Kemetic tree of life, which was referred to among several names as the Paut Neteru, or Company of Gods. Kabbalah students and experts alike are surely wondering about my assignment of 11 spheres to the tree, when the Hebrew tradition and its Greek offshoot, so-called Kabbalion, claims that there are only 10 spheres on the tree. The problem lies in the understanding of the word that was translated as sphere. For some reason it should have been, but was not clearly understood by the Hebrew Kabbalists as a place or environment within which a thing exists and or originates from. The sphere of the tree of life corresponds then to the principles and forces that influence man's thinking, feeling, actions, and destiny. They are best thought of spheres of influence. The tree of life is nothing more than a system for classifying the influences operating in the spirit of man and of Neter. These influences are experienced by all people as urges of inner drives. We're all driven, for example, by the urge to congregate and to unite with others, which is we know as marriage. Well, folks, the next pilot's in the house here, and I'm about to hand over. Just give it that little bit. Yeah, so, 40 minutes and I wrap up. So, you're going to have Sister Ebony next, who is right here in the wings waiting. And also, freestyle is going to be coming up after Sister Ebony. Out. Wrong name. Ebster is the right name. Sorry. Ebster. Don't know why I said that. But anyway, she'll be up next and then freestyle afterwards. So keep tuned to Feferity Radio. You know, as I said, I'm a man that likes to help people not to succumb psychologically to certain pressures, you know, especially in these times when the mind's a playground for these people and they like to, because I'm confident because I know that the laws, I just read to you the 11 laws on what is the law and stuff like that. And because I understand what the laws is, I have no fear. They can say what they like. They can do what they like. Even if I did succumb to anything, any of their games, I don't know that I'm in tune with the plan of the divinity. If it's the plan of the divinity for me to leave the earth like that, well, then so be it. I ain't worried. And the worst thing you can do is to worry, and because then you fall prey to their game. They're going to make you feel like, I mean, they've studied psychology and they know the weakest part of the man is his mind. You see, if you win their mind, if you win anyone's mind, then you've got them. So they're psychologically astute, but they don't know we were more psychologically astute more than what they are. You see what I'm saying? We've done all the psychology stuff already. Egypt was a representative of the mind. Ptah, the mind of man, the mind of the divinity. Everywhere is intelligence. I'm telling you, I'm coming this morning and I was just noticing the environment. I'm thinking, you know, funny enough, everything's intelligence here. Even that car that's driving down the road is an intelligence, isn't it? So that's proof of if this world is not a construct of an intelligence design, then we're going to be left with mind-created realities. People can come and they can manipulate your mind as much as they can because they know that you're fearful. These days, these diseases, new fandangle, and here the man said they had the corona disease on as an ingredient on a disinfectant. They had it in there. Well, as I said before, whether it's the same corona disease or I don't know, but it says here. It says on the. I saw it myself because it was a video. It says on there. He pointed to where it says coronavirus. So say, hang on a minute. And this was long before this big breakout. So, and I read you the pale horse. And if it's their intention, if they have an agenda, it's not the agenda of the divinity. Put it that way. And that's wonderful, folks. If they can have so much power, I want to know how the hell did they get so much power, brethren? Come on, somebody's got to tell me. They just get up one morning and think, okay, I'm going to kill humanity. You know, do you know what kind of responsibility that is in your mind to do something like that? To make such statements like, I'm going to take out half of the population. Come on, man. That means you're responsible for that. So who's going to be your punisher? Who's going to, what reward are you going to get from doing such things? Have you really got that liberty and that power to do such things like that? Is there such people on the planet? Then we don't need God. We should stop going to church. Stop talk about worship and stop talk about a whole heap of things because your God is weak and impotent. These people are God. Because hear what I'm saying? And your God can't even stop them. So why are you wasting your time? Any one of them you want to call. From Allah to Selassie to Jesus Christ to Hebrews, Yahweh or Yah, anyone you want to call it. Rubbish. Because they can't stop these other people from doing what they're doing. If 100, how much people have died so far? 139, something like that. There was 139 deaths, brethren, of innocent people. Come on. You know, what's happening here? I think we're arguing on the wrong point here. We've got to look to the divine for the answer here, not to the individuals that are creating this havoc? Where is the divine justice in all of this? So much people worship God today. So much people go to church. So much people are doing their Islamic thing, bowing down, and some doing all these things for what? What happened to your God, brethren? You make these barbarians doing these, killed 139 already, and how much infected? There's no place for you here. This is very important. This is the whole thing. This is where the crux is. What are we to think? What are we to make sense of all of this? How are we to make sense of all of this? I know I can make sense of it. You want to make sense of it? You tune into my show during the week. The Medunetta is the only way we can make sense of all of this. Consciousness is who we are, and this is our escape. This is how you're going to live through this, by preparing the right thoughts in your mind, not fearful thoughts. Don't scramble your hypothalamus like that, because your hypothalamus does know the difference between real or imagined events. That's why they know this. It's all a psychological thing. Get yourself prepared, and tune in tomorrow, Allah willing, from 7 o'clock onwards. Well, folks, that's it for me, I've come to the end of my show. I hope it's been informative for you. And so, we look forward to meeting and continuing with the 11 laws. The 11 laws of Ma'at. You program this into your prefrontal lobe, and I guarantee that things will become plainer to you, and you won't be so fearful. They won't kill you. Remember the story of the Orisha, who was told to kill only 10 people by Alulamari, and Alulamari noticed that he killed 20. And when summoned him and said, I thought I told you to kill only 10. The Orisha turned around and said, Master, I did kill only 10. The other 10 died of fear. You see what I'm saying? So there's something in something. Don't succumb psychologically to these forces. I wouldn't say these things to weaken you, but to strengthen you, that you can rely. There's an inner strength. There is a divine intelligence. There is your true nature, which is consciousness and will. It's all you are. You're just a consciousness that wills. You don't even need breath at the end of the day. So these are the things that you're going to incorporate into your bag of tricks in order to keep your mechanism healthy thinking, and don't take on board. Well, there's only one thing left for me to say, and that is what I always say, and that is, this is Heru saying, I'm out. Yeah, okay. Just waiting here for a minute.